When he said it, I actually apologized. You're just not wife material, he told me, eyes soft, like he was sparing me. I love you, but you're not the kind of woman a man builds a life with. And I said sorry, like I had done something wrong. I remember standing in his apartment, still in the dress I wore to dinner, hands shaking, mascara clinging to the corners of my eyes. We had been together for years, talked about kids, house hunted on weekends, shared passwords, Spotify playlists and Sunday mornings. And suddenly, I was just disqualified, like I'd failed some invisible test I never even knew I was taking. He didn't yell, he didn't cheat, not that I knew at the time. He just sat me down, poured me a glass of wine, and told me, "You're amazing, just not in a forever way." Then he handed me my bag, kissed my forehead, and said, "I hope we can still be friends." I wish I could say I walked out with dignity, but the truth is, I stood there frozen, eyes wide, lips trembling, like a child being told Santa isn't real. And he just went back to finishing his pasta. The first few weeks were hell. I deleted our photos, blocked him, unblocked him, cried into pillowcases I should have thrown out. I even texted his mom because yes, I was that desperate for closure. She didn't reply. Everyone told me I dodged a bullet. But when someone spends years training you to believe they love you, and then walks away like you're a seasonal phase, it doesn't feel like luck. It feels like a death you can't explain to anyone. Then, 2 months later, something happened. A friend from college messaged me, "Hey, is this a joke? Did you guys get back together or?" Attached was a photo, a wedding photo, and in it standing next to a woman I had never seen before was him, wearing the same smile he used to give me. And she was wearing my dress, the one we picked together, the one I had left in his apartment because maybe one day we'd use it. I stared at the image, my heart pounding so loud it drowned everything else out. No caption, no context, no explanation. Just them, smiling, married, in my dream. How long had he been planning this? And who the hell was she, this woman living a life that was supposed to be mine? I zoomed in on the photo until the pixels blurred. It was unmistakable. That was my dress. The lace sleeves I chose after hours of scrolling. The delicate buttons I asked the seamstress to adjust because I wanted it to close just right at the neck. The tiny stitching flaw under the left arm, still there. He didn't just marry someone else. He married her in my future. My fingers were numb as I scrolled. I checked the date of the photo post. It had gone up 3 days earlier. No location tagged, no hashtags, just a vague caption. Some chapters begin quietly. What a joke. I opened the comments. They were limited, only close friends. Most were generic. "So happy for you both. Finally, beautiful couple." No one mentioned the timing. No one questioned the speed. No one knew I existed, because he made sure they didn't. I called a mutual friend, the kind who always tries to stay neutral. "Did you know?" I asked, trying to sound calm. She went quiet. Then, "I didn't think it would help to tell you." Turns out, they had gotten engaged before our breakup. They'd been together for months behind my back. He told people we were on a break, that things with me were complicated, that he had met someone who made him feel seen. But the worst part, she had been to our apartment. I remembered a necklace I found once under the bed. He said it was a gift for me, that he was hiding it for later. It wasn't. It was hers. My mind spun with details I had ignored. The weekend he said he was visiting his brother but came back smelling like hotel soap. The sudden shift in affection. The half-hearted kisses. The accidental coldness. He was phasing me out. And I didn't even know it. I thought about texting him, asking why. But I didn't want a curated explanation. I wanted truth. So I did what he never expected me to do. I messaged her. I didn't threaten. Didn't accuse. Just one line. "Congratulations on your wedding. Hope he told you whose dress that was." She left me on read, then blocked me. But that silence told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't innocent. She knew. And that meant they both thought I'd stay quiet forever. They were wrong. I wish I could say I moved on after that. Blocked them. Healed. Went to yoga or whatever. But that's not what happened. What happened is, I got angry. And when anger hits someone who stayed quiet for too long, it doesn't come out with screams. It comes out with focus. I started digging. Not for revenge, at least. That's what I told myself. I just wanted the whole truth. Every lie, every timeline, every disgusting piece they tried to hide behind their curated wedding smiles. I started with his old iPad, the one he left synced to our shared cloud, because he was too lazy to unlink it. And that's when I found it. A folder, titled simply, "Game Night." Inside were screenshots of messages between him and his friends. A group chat that had started a year before we broke up. They had a game. Who could date 2 women the longest without getting caught? Each guy picked players. He picked me and her. They ranked their girlfriends on things like how emotionally attached they were, how much financial support they gave, how easy they'd be to gaslight. They even had nicknames. Mine? Wifey Prototype. Because, and I quote, "She's everything a guy should want, but too emotional to actually marry." And hers? Upgrade on paper. Because she was calmer. Cooler. Doesn't ask questions. They place literal bets. Dates. Money. Timelines. One message from him read, "Gonna ditch wifey by August. Keep the dress." Why waste a good investment? I read that sentence 20 times. Why waste a good investment? That's all I had been to him. A trial run. A prototype. A goddamn placeholder. I don't remember crying. I just remember going still, like my body was trying to protect me from the weight of what I'd just read. I should have felt broken, but instead, I felt clear, so painfully. Sharply clear. They weren't in love. They were in strategy, and I had been the warm-up round. I had the proof now. But what do you do with that kind of truth? Bury it? Or burn them with it? I didn't plan some grand revenge. No public scandal. No wedding crashing moment. What I did was worse. I let the truth speak for itself in the quietest, most strategic way possible. First, I saved everything. Screenshots, timestamps, voice memos. I even screen recorded the chat to show it wasn't edited. Then I made a new email. Anonymous, clean, untraceable. And I sent one message. To her. No subject line. Just attachments and a single sentence. Your honeymoon looks lovely. Thought you should see the game you won. That's it. No insults. No explanations. No begging her to believe me. Because she already knew. Now she had to live with the evidence. Next came his job. I knew where he worked. I also knew his company had a strict no harassment policy, especially regarding gendered behavior. I sent them the group chat. I didn't lie. I didn't frame anything. Just send the raw truth with one line. This is how your senior associate speaks about the women he dates. 3 days later, I got a reply. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. The matter is being handled internally. Translation. He was either fired or under review. Either way, the version of him that thrived on control was cracking. Then I sent one last file. To his mother. She always adored me. Or pretended to. Called me the daughter she never had. I don't know if she believed the breakup story he told her, but I made sure she saw the real one. I attached a chat log and wrote, "Thought you should know what kind of man your son became. And how many women he practiced on to get there." She never replied. But 2 weeks later, she posted a quote on her social media. Some mothers raise sons, others raise warnings. Make of that what you will. I didn't hear from him, not directly, but one night, at 2:11 a.m., I got a DM request on a new account. No profile picture, no followers. It just said, "You happy now?" I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because for the first time since all of this began, yes, I was. But peace doesn't come from destroying someone. It comes from rebuilding yourself and knowing you'll never settle for half love again. I used to think closure meant an apology, a phone call, a letter, some final moment where they admit they were wrong and you finally get to exhale. But real closure? It's not something you get from them. It's something you give to yourself. I moved cities, got a new job, a better apartment, started cooking meals just for me ones I actually like. Turns out, I don't even like risotto. That was always his favorite. I started wearing lipstick again. The red one he said was too much for every day. I wear it now just to do laundry. Not to prove anything. Just because I can. A few weeks ago, I ran into a girl from his old friend group. She looked nervous. Said she'd heard what happened. I could see it in her eyes, the question she didn't know how to ask out loud. Did you ever feel stupid? I smiled. All the time. But never as stupid as he's gonna feel when he realizes I was the best thing that ever happened to him. She laughed, like she needed permission to let it out. And I realized, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is exist well after someone tries to break you. I still have the dress. The one she wore at their wedding. I got it back eventually, long story, but it sits now in a box at the back of my closet. Not because I want to keep it. Not because it still means anything. But because one day, when I'm fully healed, I plan to donate it. So another woman can wear it not as a symbol of betrayal, but as the beginning of something real. Something honest. Something she doesn't have to earn. Because I was always wife material, just not for someone who treated love like a game. I didn't get a wedding, but I got my power back, and I'll never hand it over again. Not for a ring, not for a promise, not even for an apology.